Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. So this is another video all about the glutes because I think they are the best muscle in the human body. But today I wanted to touch on how do you know if you really do have weak glutes. And I think it's a really important topic because your glutes are used for so many different things, for performance, for power, for athletes. They're supposed to be the strongest muscle in the human body, so obviously they do have a lot of attention, like I always tell you. And a lot of people don't actually know that they do have weak glutes, and there can be certain things and certain factors that can attribute towards this that I'm just going to go through with you today. Make sure you aren't missing any of my videos, so hit that subscribe button below. It'll just be down here somewhere, especially the glute videos because it's more of a series now where I'm talking about different areas, developments, growth, everything, weak glutes, the glutes in general. So make sure you're subscribed and turn on my post notifications first. When I first started training, I just used to do squats for my glutes, and I thought this was absolutely fine. I was like, yeah, squats are fine just to target my glutes, but squats in general actually activate your quads more. So when you have these like squat challenges, like 30-day squat challenge to grow your glutes in 30 days, you'll actually come away with some monster quads, not some monster glutes. And I also just kind of used to deadlift as well, but if you're the type of person who is just squatting and who is just deadlifting, it's not enough at all to grow and develop your glutes because they're three-dimensional. There's three muscles that we are working. You've got your glute medius, your glute max, and your glute minimus. The video I put up last week was all about the side boost, the glute medius, so go and check that out if you haven't already. If you aren't training your glutes, even if you're a guy, there are so many different things that can happen. So the first thing is a anterior pelvic tilt, and this is where you have a arch in the lumbar region of your spine. So it's kind of, I call it a duck arse, and it's something that I had for years and years and years. I still do have it a little bit, massively because I was a swimmer and we just didn't use our core. So it's kind of like this shape, but I popped a video up for you anyway so you can have a little look. You can also have, predominantly from this as well and from the weak glutes, really bad lower back pain, which I'm going to touch on later in the video. There will also be a decrease in performance in your big lifts, like your compound lifts, your strong lifts, such as your squat and your deadlift, which is why training the glutes in general, I think for power lifters as well, is ridiculously important for your power output. Also, if you're an athlete in general, so maybe a sprinter, you want good glutes and you also want good hamstrings for that power output, like I said before, but also for your speed. Hence why I wanted to touch on this video so you can avoid all those things above by having weak glutes and not training your glutes. So all I'm going to do with you is go through two different tests that can actually see if you do have weak glutes, or it might be for you might find that you have an imbalance, which is where one glute is weaker than the other, and there are some things that you can do for this as well, which I will also touch on. But let's dive into the examples. The first test that I have for you is really simple. You've probably all done them before because they've definitely been in my videos, and this is just glute bridges. So I have popped myself into a glute bridge here, and as you can see, you want a straight line all the way down your body, your chin tucked so there's no hyperextension of your lower back. And like I said before, this is simply just where you have that arch in your lower back, and this is something that we do want to avoid. If you start to feel cramping in your legs, so your hamstrings or your quads basically, this could be a sign of weak glutes. Now, when we go on to test your left side and your right side, this is moving on to a single leg glute bridge, which is a little bit more difficult anyway. And the thing you want to look out for is, are your hips beginning to drop? Do they sag down? Are you moving all over the place? So is your pelvis not stable? And do you feel you can't reach full hip extension? And all of this is because you will have weak glutes on that side. So the leg that is bent, that will be a weak glute. And if these things are happening, just tells you that you do have a weak glute, and you do want to test both sides just to make sure that there isn't any imbalances. Finally, if you are feeling a burning sensation in your hamstrings, this is an absolute major sign of weak glutes, as it's not your hamstrings that actually drive hip extension, it's your glutes, as well as being a hip abductor, an external rotator, and for posterior pelvic tilt. And I've just popped those videos on the screen for you again, just to remind you, like I did in last week's video, because hip extension is obviously the glutes predominant movement. Test number 2 is bird dog pulses. Like, I used to call these Supermans, but I'm pretty sure they're called bird dogs. And all you're going to do is, as I'm doing in the video, are the pulses. So if you can feel it in your glutes, that's absolutely fantastic, but you now need to try and bend the knee, so you're doing more of a quadruped hip extension where the hamstrings have been shortened and basically taken out of the whole equation. And then this is where you need to see if you can still feel it in your glute max. So you want to ask yourself, can you still feel the contraction in your glutes? Some people will completely lose their mind to muscle connection with the glutes that they had before, and it is pretty common, as all it means is your hamstrings were doing more work than your glutes. As always, like I said before, make sure you're testing both sides just so we can see if there are any imbalances. Now, with imbalances in general, so they're the 2 tests that I want you to try just to see if you've got weak glutes. But for imbalances in general, you might have been able to tell from this video, which is fantastic. It's a positive. You've been able to find your glute imbalance. All you want to do is reverse hypers with an ankle weight on either side, or no weight, that's absolutely fine. So reverse hyper is where you are led on the bench, you're holding onto it, and then you just kick your feet back, so kind of like a frog position. And if you do this on the weaker side as well, obviously you're doing it single leg, you're doing it on the side that isn't as strong, it should help the hypertrophic process of building that strength of that glute muscle back up. Lastly, I wanted to just touch on lower back pain, as this is something that is really common with weak glutes and also very common with my clients, people I know, and I think just like the general population, that kind of pain where you can put your thumbs in it and you can actually feel it, so it's like a very, very dull ache. And this is where your glute medius is the big problem. You may be sitting a lot of the day, you might have a desk job, it might be something you're doing wrong in the weights room, it could be from numerous things, but predominantly because your hip flexors are shortened when you're sat down all day, this does affect your glute medius as well. Now, one of the best things to do is to pop up here and go and watch my video that I did the other week, because it'll be very helpful. It's all about building your glute medius, building your side booty, and all the benefits from that. So that is my video in a nutshell. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Just a side note, the Gymshark sale is officially live. It is live, it is ready, it is unbelievable, up to 70% off. You will have seen my YouTube video on this already. My link's below. Thank you so much if you do decide to use it. It means the world for me. World to me. And make sure you check out all my content on Instagram, IGTV, and I love you and leave you.